So it's game on. Finally, the first presidential debate. One of the most anticipated events since Ali Frazier in Madison Square Garden back in 1971. These are like two foaming at the mouth rabid beasts just ready to tear into each other. I can't wait personally. And not meaning to be too rude or too messed up, but honestly, I hope that Trump skins her alive and uses her pelt as a welcome mat in front of Trump Tower. Because this is not a sporting event. This is not the Marquis of Queensberry rules. We don't need to be gentlemen here and play according to the rules. We are fighting for the future of the United States of America. We are fighting for the hearts and souls of our countrymen and for the future of this country. And nowhere in that future should it include anything with Hillary Clinton running the show. That is a disaster, and that is a guarantee that we will sink like the Titanic. So, yeah, I hope that Donald Trump fights dirty and breaks all the rules and makes her look foolish and weak so that the American people will realize she is not presidential material. This debate is taking place at Hofstra University in Uniondale, New York, which is about 10 minutes away from my house. I so wish that I could be going to this thing, but it is by invite and student lottery only. So I guess I'll just have to stay home and watch it on TV with the rest of you. Now, I'd like to say that for Trump to win this debate, all he's got to do is just show the American people who Hillary Clinton really is. She's had no policy throughout this campaign other than to attack Trump for being a racist and a misogynist. And it seems to be that's the only talking points that she has. And you don't get to be president when you don't have any policy to propose. You can't get elected by saying the other guy's a racist and I'm not. It just doesn't work that way. Now, Donald Trump, on the other hand, all he has to do is to remind people about the email scandal and how Hillary compromised national security and allowed classified data to fall into the hands of foreign governments and possibly terrorist organizations, how she violated the laws of our country by running that server in her house, which she was not supposed to do, how she deleted emails, wiped the server using BleachBit in an attempt to tamper with evidence and destroy evidence, which is something that most folks like you and me would go to jail for, what she got a pass on. You have to keep reminding people of this. You want to talk about, liberals love to talk about white privilege. Well, you just got to look at Hillary Clinton and it's all right there. She's got more passes than anybody else in the history of politics in this country. She has skated through more scandals than anybody else ever. And she always gets away with it because of who she is. She's a Clinton. And people higher up in this government really don't want to mess with the Clintons. People who mess with the Clintons usually don't end up very well. Now, you could also remind the American people that Hillary Clinton was a disaster as Secretary of State, as she left the entire Middle East in ruins. Not that it was doing well beforehand, but it's much worse now because of the tampering of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Libya was a stable country. Now, Gaddafi may not have been a nice guy, but in the aftermath of the Iraqi invasion and the toppling of Saddam Hussein and his being executed, Gaddafi decided he wanted to be friends with us. He was sharing intel. He was sharing information on Al-Qaeda. He was arresting Al-Qaeda operatives in his own country. It was not in our interests to destabilize Libya and to take Gaddafi down. Yet she did that, and now the country is a haven for Islamists, for jihadists. It's now one of the hottest countries in the world. In Iraq, they snatched defeat right from the jaws of victory. President Bush handed them a stable country. The troop surge had been more effective than anybody ever imagined and completely eliminated al-Qaeda in Iraq, defeated them on the battlefield, killed all of their leaders, and chased them out of the country into Syria. They pulled out all of the troops from Iraq and allowed the country to descend right back into chaos. All the chaos in Syria spilled right over into Iraq, and now we have the Islamic State, which didn't exist before Barack Obama's presidency, and it does now. We got to remind people about the Clinton Foundation and how it's a great big money laundering scheme, and how the Clintons sold influence at the highest levels of the American government to the highest bidders into the Clinton Foundation. This is not something you want in the White House again. We have to remind people that throughout all of Hillary's rhetoric of claiming Donald Trump as a racist and continually using these keywords to stir up anger amongst minorities in this country, all you have to do is to look at the fact that she's embraced the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a terrorist organization. It's a domestic terror organization. They target police officers openly. Our streets are becoming free fire zones. There's no respect for law in some of our inner cities, and Hillary embraces this because these are her constituents and she wants their votes. She's the racist, not Trump. Lastly, I want to discuss New York State. Trump is a New Yorker. Hillary claims to be a New Yorker. She is a transplant. She's a carpetbagger. She came here because there was an open Senate seat that was guaranteed to her. Because when you run in the state of New York as a Democrat, you don't lose. And if you run as a Democrat with a name brand, you definitely don't lose. She knew that they were handing her that Senate seat on a silver platter with a bow and a cherry on top. She knew it. That's why she came to New York. She's not a New Yorker. Donald Trump is a native New Yorker. He's lived his whole life here. He's run his business in this state, even though it's not a very business-friendly state, and a lot of businesses leave New York. He stayed. Now, they're saying in the polls right now that Hillary is 21 points ahead in New York. But they're also saying that Donald Trump is polling ahead on Long Island. Now, he's way ahead of Hillary in Nassau and Suffolk counties here on Long Island. The key to winning New York State is to win Nassau and Suffolk County, all of Long Island, to get a big voter turnout in Staten Island, and a large Republican turnout in upstate New York. It's possible. Reagan won here twice. We've elected a Republican governor, George Pataki, 3 times in this state. We elected a Republican mayor in the city of New York, Rudy Giuliani, who was reelected. So it's possible for a Republican to win in New York. And Donald Trump should win his home state. Shouldn't waste any time or money campaigning in the other 4 boroughs, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and New York City. They're too packed with Democrats, and they've already been conditioned to hate Trump. You're not going to win there. And unfortunately, those 4 boroughs of New York City tilt the outcome of elections most of the time in this state. But if we have a very large turnout, if every registered Republican in the state of New York votes on Election Day and votes for Trump, we can deliver New York's 39 electoral votes to Donald Trump and into the red category in this election cycle. And if Trump wins the swing states, which right now he's polling ahead in most of the important swing states, and wins New York, it is game over. So to all of you New Yorkers, my fellow New Yorkers, if you're Republicans, you must vote. You must come out and you must vote for Trump. If you're one of those Ted Cruz, never Trumpers, Cruz just endorsed Trump. We don't want a disaster in this country. Hillary Clinton is a disaster. What will happen to the Supreme Court, foreign policy, immigration, Just think of your worst nightmares and amplify that by 100 times, and that is a Hillary Clinton presidency. We don't need that. Vote Trump. And good luck in tonight's debate, Mr. Trump. Like I said, skin her alive and use her skin as a welcome mat in front of Trump Tower.